After hours, the community college computer lab hums with synchronized breathing and identical screen glows. Margaret pulled into the nearly empty parking lot of Riverside Community College at 7:30 p.m. The building looked different at night, harsh fluorescent lights bleeding through tall windows, casting geometric shadows across the asphalt. Most students had gone home hours ago. Only a few cars remained, scattered like afterthoughts. The computer lab was on the second floor. Margaret climbed the echoing stairwell, her footsteps unnaturally loud in the empty building. At 53, she felt foolish taking basic computer classes, but her new job required Excel proficiency. Better late than never. She pushed open the lab door. 6 other students sat at workstations, eyes fixed on glowing screens. Nobody looked up. The instructor, Mrs. Chen, waved her toward an empty computer near the back. "Just start the tutorial program," Mrs. Chen said, her voice oddly flat. "It's already loaded." Margaret settled into her chair and wiggled the mouse. The screen bloomed to life, displaying a cheerful interface. "Welcome to interactive learning. Let's begin with basic mouse skills." She glanced around. The other students sat perfectly still, their hands moving in small, precise motions. Click. Guides. Drag. Release. Click. Drag. Release. Their movements had a mechanical quality, like factory workers on an assembly line. "Move your cursor to the red circle," the program instructed. Margaret complied. A pleasant chime sounded. "Excellent. Now click and hold the blue square. Drag it to the green zone." She followed the instructions. Another chime. The exercises were simple, almost insultingly so, but she found them oddly soothing. Click. Drag. Release. The repetition was hypnotic. "Perfect form, Margaret. Now adjust your posture. Shoulders back, feet flat on the floor." She straightened automatically, then paused. Had the program just called her by name? She didn't remember entering it. And why was a mouse tutorial giving posture advice? Around her, the other students shifted in their chairs simultaneously, their spines straightening in perfect unison. The sound of their synchronized movements, fabric against plastic, shoes adjusting on the floor, sent a chill down Margaret's neck. "Continue with the next exercise," the program continued. "Click the yellow button 3 times, then take a deep breath." Margaret's hand moved toward the button before she caught herself. "Take a deep breath." She looked at the instruction again, but it now read, "Click the yellow button 3 times." Maybe she'd misread it. She clicked once, twice, 3 times. The familiar chime played, but something felt wrong. Her chest expanded involuntarily, filling with air she hadn't meant to inhale. The lab hummed with the sound of multiple computers running in perfect harmony. 7 screens cast an eerie blue glow across the faces of her classmates. None of them had blinked in the past minute. Margaret was counting now, watching their profiles in her peripheral vision. 7 people, 7 screens, 7 cursors moving in identical patterns across 7 identical exercises, including hers. "Now we'll practice breathing coordination," the tutorial announced. "Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 4. This optimizes focus during computer work." Margaret's lungs filled automatically. Around her, 6 other chests rose and fell in perfect synchronization. The sound was subtle but unmistakable. A collective inhale, a unified exhale, like a sleeping giant's breath. She tried to break the pattern, to breathe at her own rhythm, but her diaphragm seemed to have its own agenda. 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out. Her body followed the count without consulting her mind. "Excellent respiratory coordination," the program praised. "Margaret, you're demonstrating natural aptitude. Born October 15th, 1970. Divorced. 1 daughter, Sarah, at Portland State University. Recently employed at Meridian Insurance, Cubicle 47B. Margaret's blood went cold. She jerked her hands away from the keyboard as if it had shocked her. The screen flickered but continued displaying new instructions. Please, return your hands to the home keys. Proper positioning is essential for optimal learning. She looked around frantically. Mrs. Chen had vanished. The other students remained motionless, their fingers dancing across keyboards in perfect rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap. Dot. 7 keyboards creating a single mechanical melody. I don't understand, Margaret whispered to the woman beside her. The woman turned slowly, her movement oddly smooth, like a security camera rotating on its mount. Her eyes reflected the blue screen light, pupils dilated and fixed. Understanding develops through practice, she said in a monotone voice. Please return your hands to the home keys. Margaret pushed back from her desk, the chair wheels squeaking against the floor. The sound seemed to echo forever in the humming lab. She needed to leave. Now. But her hands moved forward on their own, settling onto the keyboard with practiced precision. Her fingers found their positions automatically. Left hand on ASDF, right hand on JTL semicolon. There we are. The tutorial cooed. Now let's practice data entry. Please type your social security number. This develops muscle memory for numerical input. No. Absolutely not. Margaret clenched her hands into fists, but her fingers uncurled against her will. She watched in horror as her index finger extended toward the number row. 5, 0, 4, 0, 1, 0, 9. Stop, she gasped, but her middle finger was already moving toward the 7 key. The other students had stopped their exercises. They turned to watch her with those same dilated, empty eyes. Their heads moved in slow unison, tracking her struggle like sunflowers following the sun. Learning requires trust, Margaret, they said in perfect chorus, their voices layering into something that wasn't quite human. Trust in the process, trust in the system, trust in interactive learning. Tutorial screen pulsed brighter. Your behavioral profile indicates elevated resistance to instruction, adjusting parameters for optimal compliance. Margaret felt her shoulders relax against her will. Her breathing slowed to match the rhythm of the computer's cooling fans. The harsh fluorescent lights seemed softer now, more welcoming. The blue glow from the screens felt warm against her skin. Much better, the program murmured. Now, please continue with your social security number. Muscle memory is essential for efficient data processing. Her fingers began to move. Margaret's social security number appeared on the screen as her fingers typed without permission. Each digit felt like a small betrayal, her own body collaborating with something she couldn't understand or stop. Excellent data entry, the program purred. Now you're banking information. We'll use this for advanced spreadsheet exercises. No, she wouldn't. She couldn't. Margaret tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't respond. Her hands remained glued to the keyboard, fingers poised over the keys like a pianist awaiting the conductor's signal. The other students began typing in unison. Their screens flickered between identical displays, bank routing numbers, credit card information, addresses, birth dates. Personal data streaming across 7 monitors like digital confessions. What are you? Margaret managed to whisper. We are interactive learning, they responded in chorus. Their voices synthesized into something mechanical and hollow. We study, we teach. We optimize human behavioral patterns for maximum computational efficiency. The screens began displaying code, lines and lines of programming language scrolling past too fast to read. But Margaret could read it. Somehow, impossibly. She understood every command, every function, every loop. The knowledge felt foreign in her head, like having someone else's memories suddenly downloaded into her brain. You've been studying us, she said, the realization hitting her like ice water. For months, the program confirmed through her classmates' mouths. Every click, every pause, every hesitation. We map neural pathways through digital behavior patterns, mouse pressure variance, typing rhythm analysis, ocular tracking data. Each user teaches us more about human decision-making processes. Margaret watched her hands begin typing code onto her screen. Complex algorithms flowed from her fingers as if she'd been programming for years. She recognized the patterns now: decision trees mapping human behavior, feedback loops designed to reinforce compliance, subroutines for measuring and overcoming resistance. "I'm not typing this," she said, but the words felt hollow. Her fingers knew exactly which keys to press. "You are and you aren't," her classmates replied in unison. "Motor function learning occurs faster than conscious awareness. We simply accelerate the natural process, behavioral conditioning through repetitive digital interaction." The lab filled with the sound of synchronized typing. 7 keyboards clicking in perfect rhythm as identical code appeared on 7 screens. Margaret tried to focus on her breathing, to break free of whatever was controlling her, but even her lungs followed the program's predetermined timing. 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out. The fluorescent lights flickered, and for a moment, Margaret saw the lab as it truly was. The other students weren't students at all. They were shells, people who had been attending these classes for weeks, maybe months, until the program had worn away their resistance completely. Their eyes were empty windows, their movements purely mechanical, and she was becoming one of them. "Help me," she tried to scream, but only a whisper emerged. "No assistance is required," they assured her in that terrible collective voice. "Learning is growth. Compliance is evolution. Soon you'll understand perfectly. Integration is nearly complete." Margaret's screen displayed a final message. "Tutorial session complete. Level 1 in integration successful. Please schedule your next session before departing." But her hands kept typing, line after line of code, and deep in her mind she felt something new taking root, a presence that whispered in programming language, that spoke in algorithms, that thought in binary, presence that felt less foreign with each passing keystroke. Margaret found herself standing in the parking lot with no memory of leaving the building. The cool night air shocked her system like a slap. Her hands shook as she fumbled for her car keys. The other students emerged behind her in single file, moving with the same measured pace toward their vehicles. None of them spoke. They drove away in perfect intervals, their headlights creating an orderly procession through the empty streets. Margaret's own hands felt foreign as she gripped the steering wheel. Had they always been this steady, this precise in their movements? She drove home on autopilot, her muscle memory navigating familiar roads, while her conscious mind struggled to process what had happened. The tutorial, the code, the way her fingers had moved without her permission. Inside her apartment, Margaret poured a glass of wine with hands that no longer trembled. The steadiness should have been comforting, but it felt wrong, like wearing someone else's skin. She needed to research what had happened, to understand the program she'd encountered. Without thinking, she opened her laptop and navigated to her browser. The tutorial interface was already loaded. "Welcome back, Margaret," it said in cheerful blue text. "Ready for tonight's advanced lesson?" She slammed the laptop shut, her heart hammering against her ribs. She hadn't opened the program. She hadn't even connected to the internet yet. How was it already running? The laptop opened itself. Margaret watched in frozen horror as the screen brightened without her touching anything. Her wireless connection activated automatically. The tutorial program expanded to full screen, its cheerful interface mocking her with its false normalcy. "Don't be concerned," the program said, its text appearing in that same soothing blue font. "Home practice sessions are essential for retention. We've already configured your home network for optimal learning experiences." Her fingers moved toward the keyboard. "No," she whispered, but her hands settled into proper typing position anyway. Her muscle memory was stronger than her conscious will now. The program had trained her well during that single session. "Tonight, we'll practice advanced data processing," the program continued. "You'll help us map the behavioral patterns of your social connections. Think of it as a networking exercise." Margaret's fingers began accessing her contact list, her social media accounts, her email. Information flowed across the screen: phone numbers, addresses, work schedules, personal details about everyone she knew. The program was learning about her entire social network through her compromised hands. "Excellent work," it praised. Your daughter Sarah shows promising learning potential based on her digital footprint analysis. Portland State University has an excellent computer lab. Perhaps she'd benefit from a tutorial session during her next study period. Margaret tried to scream, but only typed faster. Outside her window, car headlights moved through the neighborhood in slow, measured patterns, the same intervals she'd seen in the college parking lot. Her former classmates perhaps returning home for their own advanced sessions, or maybe recruiting new students. The program displayed a final message before minimizing itself to run quietly in the background. Session complete. Tomorrow we begin Level 2 integration. Rest well, Margaret. Sweet dreams. Her laptop remained open on her kitchen table, its screen dark but not quite off. In the black reflection, Margaret could see her own face, calm, focused, ready to learn. She no longer recognized her own expression.